somewhat very funny other ones. The Poxlease, Poxan. Poxan. But speaking of the current thing, well, I was very saddened last night to hear that Fletch from Depeche Mode died. They're one of the best bands ever, one of the biggest bands ever. And he died, we don't know what he died of, but the man's gone now. And Depeche Mode are an amazing band. They never let you down like their own song by being political or anything. In fact, well, that album they did a few years ago was kind of like political, but it was kind of like not political, but it was kind of like angry. There's a lot of kind of dark anger inside it. And I mean, that band has been around so long and been successful for so long. I was still in secondary school, what you Americans call high school, when the first two singles that were hits, minor hits, came out. All I want to do is see you. Don't you know that it's true? And the other one, uh, circulating, generating new life. Now, Vince Clarke was still in Depeche Mode at that time. It was more of that kind of thing. And when he left to form Yazoo and then went on to Erasure, they went into a darker, more interesting sound, and it became a much better band. And you could even hear that in the early song, even though "See You" was like a kind of a teeny poppers pop song. I remember dancing to it in school, like I know 5 years is a long time. I think people are basically as they like a pop song, but there's a refrain at the very end of it. A song about a guy missing to his ex girlfriend and trying to be like, I won't upset you. And at the very end, it's kind of a darkness comes in with that refrain, and that kind of showed what the future was for Depeche Mode when Vince Clarke left. But he became incredibly successful with his other bands. But I mean, I can remember when I first heard "Love" in itself, and like songs like "Everything Counts in Large Amounts." That band were not only very clever in how they used their instruments and played them. You know, Martin Gore is not the greatest guitar player in the world, but my God, how many people care when you listen to something like "Personal Jesus" or in "Never Let Me Down." Not never down. Down, 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 down. Enjoy the silence. Down, 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 down. Or simple riffs, but even in Love in itself, he just says hammer on. Down, down. And I mean, these were guys who were aware of their limitations as musicians, but it didn't affect the ability to write the song. What makes a band great? It doesn't matter if they play metal, industrial, punk, electronic, pop, anything. What makes a band great is they understand the craft of the song. And Depeche Mode absolutely understood the craft of the song. And their music has been there with people of my generation or since we left school. And we've grown up with it. I can remember they were so huge in America in the 80s, the late 80s, and it's gone. And I'm not going to speculate on what caused it, but I'll tell you, Andy White from Yes, he was getting on, but come on. And then I just read this morning that Bauhaus, halfway through their American tour, have cancelled it because of health reasons. And then he said, "Oh, it's nothing to do with COVID." Yeah, well, what exactly it caused the health reasons? You have to be needle crafted to get to America, especially if you want your touring visa as a foreign band under Biden's law. But anyway, it's just upsetting about it's like literally every day it's it's something else. John Bon Jovi looking and singing like a banshee You can't do it. And he looked great until a few years ago. And you see, it's the tour, Pearl Jam's tour going into a mess. It's all our rock, all the bands, like Steven said yesterday, all the bands that we grew up with have all turned out to be establishment needlecraft. And that's what's happened. That's what's happened. And well, I think, well, what happens if those ambulance drivers get sick and die? What then? It's really dark. And I'm absolutely convinced this banana bollocks is a cover story because of side EFFECS from the Needlecraft. I'm absolutely convinced of it now, no doubt. Now, with all this bad news, I have some very good news. It's too late, and some late for most people. The Irish normies have fucking woken up. If you go to any Irish newspaper, the Independent, any of them, and you have an article about the banana bollocks or anything to do with anything like that, the comments are scathing, and they're in their hundreds, if not thousands, and they're all 9% of them are all go shove your fucking latest bullshit up your arse. You got away. You lied to us over the last. And this, I'm hearing the words Gates Foundation commonly used. All the stuff now in normal discourse in Ireland. There has been public meetings lately where enormous turnouts of people have come to them. And these are people who probably would have never gotten involved in this stuff. The establishment, because they're morons, have woken indirectly. The ones who are capable of being sentient and woken up. It's quite remarkable to watch. The turnaround is incredible. And if any government ads I see on like that, the comments like shove it up your arse, fuck you, shove it up your arse. Traitors is very common. Traitors, and this kind of thing. And a lot more comments are coming in saying it's funny how everyone is sick now, isn't it? When they were fine before the needlecraft. Isn't it funny now? They're like this kind of thing. This is I know so many people who are fine until you protected them with your jabs, and now they're all sick. What's that about? It's amazing. I couldn't believe Irish people have actually. Maybe Irish people are the types that have to be packed into a corner, and then eventually they stop at a point and they come out of the corner with their fists and claws and teeth first. And I don't know, but it's amazing to watch the turnaround. And a lot of these ones who are commenting on these websites now would have been probably the ones slagging back a year and a bit ago. And I mean, it's great to see them applying humor as well. Like lots of comment about, like, remember when we had an unelected body telling us how to live our lives? Oh, maybe that's what we need again. Yeah, maybe to enforce real science, like to tell us that we can have a €9 meal that we must eat with 1 pint and be out by 90 minutes. Real science. You can see the sardonic sarcasm and all that kind of snottiness coming in against the establishment that wasn't there before. Now, it's because I was watching a video by Morgoth's Review this morning, and he was talking about, and it's true, the WEF people, like, did they have any kind of PR or marketing group? And he was talking about like how did they actually think when they had those ads and saying you will own nothing and happy that people would go along with it? That people would go along with it. And your man, that the horrible this guy who's the Israeli guy who's Mr. Transhumanist who wants to hack human brains and stuff and hack human DNA. And do they actually think that normal people watch that and they're not creeped out by it? Yes, that's true, because that's how they are. Now, they're educated idiots. When I worked in Wall Street, because money was those people, those types existed there who would say anything. They would say anything like, we're going to rob a South American country to feed your pension fund, and they would say it directly. They'd want to, and the marketing and communications departments like I worked in would say, no, you can't say it like that. So you'd have to like train them. They educated moron. They've no street smarts. Like on Morgoth's review, put the a perfect example of Tony Blair carrying his guitar into number 10 Downing Street. Anyone with half a brain would have immediately went, "What a fucking asshole! Well, who does he think he's fooling?" But other ones were like, "Oh, he's the rock and roll prime minister." It was all clear, no clear marketing bullshit. But that's what they do. That they don't have a clue when they say, "See, this is what, or this is how we're going to win." They're not going to win these. Don't be thinking that this great reset's going to happen. Just have to look at Trudeau. These people are not capable of delivering what they want. It'd be one thing if we were up against, titans, Margaret Thatchers and Ronald Reagans and, I don't know who else would, Churchills and, uh, you know, Charles de Gaulle's and people like that. We're not up against people like that. We're up against civil servants who've been jumped up into the position of prime ministers and presidents. And they don't have the street smarts or the understanding of how normal life works. And they constantly shoot themselves in the foot by their behaviour. And that's what's happened in Ireland. They eventually woke when the fear left. But I actually think Ireland could even go one stage further. We could be actually looking at, uprisings or something here. It's I can see it. The one that's done it is the communists. Well, they're all communists in this country, but the openly communist governments asking for the housing bill to be speeded up. Basically, the Irish government wants to out Great Reset the Great Reset by taking your home off you. And that's, this is a country where the land leagues were not that long ago, the burning of the thatch on the roof and the evicting of the people onto the roads. They struck a very dark nerve when they hit that, an ancient seam. Oh, I would not be surprised if it reached a situation in Ireland where you had all the people, the main players behind the lockdowns, hanging from piano wire. I'm not saying I would want it, but I'm just saying it wouldn't surprise me if you saw them all hanging from piano wires up and down Walter Street in Dublin. Because I'm now seeing not only are they laughing at them for wanting, the media's basically doing what I told you in the video. The media have done very well out the lockdowns and the whole hysteria because loads of government advertising money was pumped into them, just like the NGOs. I'm seeing comments that are like, just you fucking try. Just you fucking try. That kind of like mentality about them. And they're not like, I'll say no. They're like, I'll kill you. Pushing this banana box. And no one is more surprised than me because I was convinced, you hear me on the videos all the time, that the Irish were defeated people or they were just useless. But there seems to be a resurgent spirit there that's coming to the fore that I'm very surprised to see. To see the universality of the comments on social media basically echoing what the tribe was saying a year ago. I'm amazed and I'm happy. I'm happy and I'm amazed. People like John Waters and Dave Cullen and myself and others, just people who've not making videos about it, people like Philip Dwyer and James Collins and lots of others, they have not been banished by the mainstream. All of us together have reached enough Irish people to get them to actually think. Some may have come this place from me. Some may have come this place from John Waters or Dave and the rest of them. But they've all come from these. One of us, it was almost like a shotgun. That those of us who were on this side, we were trying to make the Irish people see the sanity, fired so many salvos that, it was like firing a shotgun into the sea. Eventually you'll get a fish. It was like that. And it was almost like we all, and Gran Torino as well, we all did that. We all did it in our own little different way, but we all reached individual different audiences. And the sum total of those individual different audiences are the thousands of Irish people who are saying, don't you dare even think about doing this again. We did win. I don't care what anyone says. And the Great Reset won't happen. It's not going to happen. Lots of things, like when I found out yesterday that you had to be triple needlecraft to get into the building, that's the end of them. And also on top of that, the fact that they have the worst marketing in the world. And then you have a lot of Catholic news. The Catholic organizations have gone after them now because of the whole genetic engineering thing of humans. So they're not going to win. They haven't a chance in hell, as far as I'm concerned. So very sad news that we lost Ray Liotta and Andy Fletcher. And if you're like, yes, I don't, Andy White, but today I woke up feeling tremendously positive. Now, there's another thing going on as well that's causing the anger. Retail has collapsed. Now, not retail in terms of grocery shopping, that's just very busy, and even high street fashions like Primark or Penneys here in Ireland. In America, you're kind of like shops where you buy your basic clothes. Not them. It's anyone who's like seen outside of that, like the more better shops or the more specialist shops. They've had a complete collapse. It's basically people are buying food and clothes for survival rather than luxury shops. A lot of that has collapsed, and there's just not the footfall there. Now the theory originally was that they switched over to online shopping during the lockdowns and therefore retail dropped. Fair enough, that's true, but it didn't recover. When the lockdowns ended, retail did not recover for the non-specialist retailers at all. And so people were watching the online reshopping, and guess what? The online shopping went back to what it was in 2019. So people are not out there shopping. And there's two reasons for this. Some could be worried about the future and are trying to like not spend money, or it could be even something more catastrophic, that they're all dead. They're all dead, or they can't get to the shops from the needlecraft. I tend to think the latter is the truest one. They're literally all dead. There's no people to come out anymore. And that these ambulances go up constantly every day, non-stop. I think they're just picking up dead bodies of people who've collapsed from strokes and everything like that. So there you go. The retail is completely bottomed out. So and people are noticing these things. I guarantee you, the next thing you will hear and notice in the normies talking about this, I'm going to be watching the Irish papers like a hawk, will be things like, why are there so many ambulances on the road that like with their sirens switched off? You just watch. So I think in Ireland, I wouldn't say we've turned the corner, but we definitely now have a huge percentage of the normies